So you want to make sure you're getting the best deal on a home, or better yet, you just don't want to overpay for a property you've been eyeing for the last couple of weeks. Well, here is the ultimate buyer's guide. So in this video, I'm going to show you if a property is actually worth the price it's asking for, and so how you as a buyer will never have to overpay for a property again. With that said, let's get started. You see, when people talk about property values, they immediately think about comparable sales, right? So they immediately look in the area and they go on apps like House Sigma and Zillow and find out properties that have recently sold in the immediate neighborhood. But because sometimes looking at comparables will have you overpay for a property which you could regret later on, because there are a few things that you got to look at, a few key factors and key features that you got to look at, and the prices will vary based on those key features. Number one, you have to make sure that you're actually comparing similar homes. If you're buying a two-story home, you want to compare it against other two-story homes. If you're buying a bungalow, you don't want to compare it to a backsplit. If you're buying a three-story townhome with no basement and pothole fees, you don't want to compare it to a traditional two-story townhome with a backyard and a basement, and so on and so forth. Number two, you want to check the age of the home. You see, homes built in the 80s, for example, if it's built in 81 versus a home that's built in 85, that's no big deal. But let's say you're buying a home that's built in the 80s, and the closest comparable in terms of size and style is something that was built in the 2000s. Well, then you have to take that into consideration, because a mid-century home, even though it's fully renovated, is going to be very different than a home that's built in the 2000s. It's going to have different layout, and it's going to different building materials, different materials used for plumbing, electrical, insulation in the attic, etc. Number three, you got to check the actual square footage. Notice how I say the actual square footage, because this is where a lot of people mess up. You see a lot of times on MLS, I see people put 2,500 or 3,000 square foot of living space, and people interpret that as, oh, this house is actually 3,000 square feet. But what happens is that sometimes certain sellers or listing agents include the finished basement space into the total square footage of the home, which could be a little misleading. What you really want to compare is the above ground living space. Because for example, a house could be 2,500 square feet, but only 2,000 of that is actually above grade and the rest of them is in the basement. And when people pay price per square foot, they usually look at what's above grade. So it could make a huge difference in how you evaluate property. Number four, you got to look at the unique features of this home. Okay, so what are some unique features that you can look out for? One of them is going to be, what does this home back onto or faces? I mean, does it back onto a ravine, which would be a huge premium? Is it just some green space, or is it a park? Is it a busy road? Is it a busy plaza? Or does it just back onto an average neighborhood? Or, are you overlooking your neighbor's backyard, so to speak? Because there is a pretty huge premium for having a ravine lot versus a regular lot that backs onto regular houses. And then there are discounts for houses that back onto less desirable things like train tracks, busy roads, highways, busy plazas, compared to the ones that don't. The second thing you want to look at is, does this house have 9-foot ceilings, 10-foot ceilings, or 8-foot ceilings? You see, majority of the homes are going to have 8-foot ceilings, but a lot of the newer homes that are built within the last 10, 15, 20 years are going to have the 9-foot option, or some of them are coming out with 10-foot or even higher. And that's one of those things you cannot change, right? You cannot do a reno and change the height of your ceilings. So typically 9-foot ceilings are preferred over 8-foot ceilings. Taller the ceilings, the more premium you would be paying. A lot of the older homes don't come with an ensuite, but sometimes there are ensuites that are put into these homes, right? Sometimes they come with a 2-piece ensuite. Some of them come with a 4 or a 5-piece ensuite. And this is also a very important factor depending on how this home is priced. Typically, the higher priced homes, buyers in those price points would want an ensuite automatically. But if you're a first-time buyer, or you're just shopping in the lower price points, then maybe an ensuite is not going to be a big deal for you. A couple of other things I can think of is being on a quiet court versus being on a busier street, having a 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage, or maybe a 1.5-car garage. Having a full basement or a crawl space, or any of these things will make a big difference in the price tag. And last but not least, you're going to look at the overall condition of the home. Updated kitchen, updated bathrooms, new floors, new siding, all these will make a difference. But you also have to consider what you cannot see, which would be like roof. When was that last replaced? What about the windows? Were they replaced 3 or 4 years ago, or are they original from 25 years ago? What about AC and furnace? Are they owned or are they rented? And if they're owned, then when were they last replaced? You see, these things almost look hidden because you can't really see them based on pictures, but these are the things that you have to consider because it will cost you thousands down the line. So bottom line is, you got to know what you're paying for before making an offer. I personally walk my clients through this whole process, right? We're gonna look at everything from the age to the square footage to what kind of updates were done, what was done, how well does it show, what were replaced. And then we're gonna use that information and look at some comparable sales in the area and then come up with a fair market value. With that said, if you have any plans to buy a property or sell your home here in the Durham region or in the GTA area, feel free to book a meeting with me through the first link in the bio. I also really appreciate you giving me a like and subscribe because I'm really trying really hard to grow this channel, and I would really appreciate your support. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. With that said, thanks for watching and have a great day.